Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. This is This Savage Life. I am Sherry, and that handsome guy back there is Josh. We are your hosts. Um, and of course, this is This Savage Life, meaning if you're easily offended, this is probably not going to be the show for you. We talk about anything, everything, offensive. You never know what's going to come out of our mouths.
What's going on here?
Yeah, what's going on here? Okay, so tonight we've actually been working on some things, and since we're coming up on Halloween, we're going to talk about one of everybody's favorite Halloween characters, vampires. So I know some of you guys out there maybe believe in vampires, some of you do not believe in vampires. Um, to each their own, is what I say. Um, But we are going to kind of look at some of the vampires over time, including the one that started it all, Vlad Tepes, otherwise known as Dracula. And we're going to look at some of the sparkly ones too.
No sparkly ones. Those aren't real vampires.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we're going to start with the one that started it all, Vlad Tepes. Otherwise,
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler. He was called Vlad the Impaler for a reason. When he went to battle against his enemies, he would impale his enemies and leave them impaled in the air on a huge spear. And there would be, I'm sure he didn't do it all by himself, but there would be bodies, like a field of bodies, just impaled in the air. And it is also said that it is possible that he also ate parts of these bodies to consume his enemies. Whether or not that's actually true, I don't know.
Jeffrey Dahmer them?
I think back then, a lot of the cannibal things that you hear about was more to consume their power.
Oh my God, you guys are so disgusting.
I know, right? But so of course Vlad was the first. He was one of the most ruthless people when it comes to wars and things like that. Vlad was one of the most ruthless. Of course, I know some of you have seen movies about his life and things like that, but let me tell you, if you ever really dig into the history of what happened to him when he was a teenager, he was ripped from his family, raised by, you know, um, his enemies' families, or not really the enemy, but you know, um, the most unsettling fact about Dracula's uh, life is that we're talking about something that happened hundreds of years ago, and everybody's got their opinions on his life. Of course, historians go back and say one thing, and then you'll have another historian go back and say, no, that didn't happen. It's the same with his tomb. You've got some that say his tomb is in one place, and others that say, no, we don't think it's there. We think he's actually buried over here. Which I just learned recently that they actually believe that they found another place where he's possibly buried because the grave actually has the um, Tepes family, the Dracula family crest on it, I guess you would call it. But there are still statues of Vlad in Romania today. And if you ever go to Romania, they love to talk about it. They love to celebrate it. There's shops there that sell memorabilia and stuff as far as that goes. So when you look at vampires over time, it all started with Vlad. Then it hits Hollywood. And of course, Hollywood glamorizes the vampires. Starting with, I think it was 1931 Dracula. I believe that's when Bela Lugosi, I want to say was the first in the movies. So, okay, so we're going to do something a little different. Let's, who would win a fight, basically, between movie Dracula, Hollywood Dracula, or the real Dracula? When you look at, in terms of age, the movie Dracula is what, 80 years old? And Vlad Tepes was born 1431. So yeah, and he never dies. So he's 5 centuries old, and he never dies anyways. The one in the movies, they always get staked and die. So I mean, this is just how it goes. If you ever want to be a vampire, don't become a movie vampire because you will get staked and die. He was born in Transylvania. Of course, the movie vampires love the luxury of a coffin, while the real Vlad preferred luxurious Targovist Palace, which is south of Transylvania.
Yeah, no one wants to lay in a box.
Huh?
Said, well, yeah, no one wants to lay in a box.
Well, they do in the movies.
Well, that's the movies.
Usually in the movies, you'll see them with about 4 victims, average. The real one, of course, tens of thousands. Remember, he was called Vlad the Impaler. Favorite weapons, of course, in the movie, they use their teeth. And the real one used a 6-foot wooden spear to impale his victims. Fashion statement, the Hollywood Dracula, black cape, tuxedo, some kind of pretty little amulet. That's pretty in the teeth. The real one, crowns, helmets, and impenetrable armor. Title, Count. In the movies, he's a count. In real life, Vlad was called Voivode, which is warrior prince.
Yeah, he was the Prince of Romania.
Mm-hmm. In the movies, he can fly, but of course, the real one could not fly. So when you look at it from that, he has an advantage. The ones that can fly have an advantage. Can he fight? The ones in the movies, usually you don't see him fighting. And obviously for the real one, 10,000s of victims, yeah, I would say he could fight. Weakness, usually in the movies, allergic to garlic, sunlight, wooden stakes. The real one, although he ruled with an iron fist, Vlad was all thumbs when it came to politics and peacekeeping. So he really didn't engage in the politics and peacekeeping portion of,
Well, of course not. He was too busy stabbing folks. he was escalating that body count.
Yeah.
There will be no peace.
Enemies.
Prepare for war.
Okay. In the movies, we all know that Abraham Van Helsing is the mortal enemy.
He's the vampire slayer.
Yeah. Or any vampire hunter for that matter. Is the enemy for the Hollywood ones. Now, in real life, Vlad's enemies were Hungary, Turkey, and even Vlad's own brother, Radu the Handsome. Radu the Handsome wanted, of course.
Never heard of him.
Radu is Vlad's brother.
Yep.
And of course, anytime you have two boys and a throne, well, unless you're Prince William and Prince Harry, then you have pretty much I don't want to call it a war between brothers. I mean, it kind of is. And even with them, there's obviously some sort of disagreement going on, I guess you would call it.
Well, there's a power struggle because they're essentially royalty. So one of them wants to be the leader.
Yeah. And usually the second one is the one that's jealous and things like that. Which I don't know if that's the case with Harry, so don't sue me. But there's
I'm pretty sure you're okay.
Yeah, there's a struggle with them, but he more wants out of the royal family. I mean, you're born that way. You're born royal, you know. Okay, so on being a vampire hunter, Central European tradition is very specific when it comes to identifying a vampire's grave. Obtain a young male horse. That didn't start out so well, did it? Obtain a young male horse. Its hide must be as black as the blackest ocean. Guide the horse through the graveyard. Over one grave, the horse shall refuse to pass. Summon additional villagers for backup. You're going to need all the help you can get and begin digging. Above all else, remember the daylight suits your mission best, as the vampire may be making house calls by moonlight. So that's how they did it back in the old days. They would take a horse and walk it over a grave.
So you just said a black horse, right?
Yes. As black as the blackest oceans.
So there's another Romanian legend.
Okay.
To find a vampire's grave, you'll need a 7-year-old boy and a white horse. The boy should be dressed in white, placed upon the horse, and the pair set loose in a graveyard at midday. Watch the horse wander around, and whichever grave it's nearest, the horse, when it finally stops, is a vampire's grave. Or it might have just found something edible nearby. Take your pick, is what it says. So,
yeah. Let's go sacrifice a 7-year-old.
So there's different, I guess, lore back then, because this Romanian legend says you needed a 7-year-old boy and a white horse. So
yeah, and I mean, first of all, I'm not going to sacrifice my 7-year-old.
Yeah,
I'm not going to dress him in white and walk him over to a grave.
No, you just turn him loose on the horse, and the horse takes him wherever. Yeah, crazy.
No. Now on being a vampire, whether you're Bulgarian, Ubor, or West Indian Lugaroo, you are never alone. Vampire folklore has existed around the globe for many centuries. The earliest known vampire is depicted in Babylonian artwork that's 2,300 years old. Sadly, you probably won't bump into that vampire today. Even in that ancient image, the poor, defenseless bloodsucker was being threatened by a man, old vampire hunter with a stake. Now, vampires rule. Sure, anybody can tell you that, but have you ever noticed that vampires obey a lot of rules too? There's a lot of rules when it comes to being a vampire. Never play outside after sunrise. No yummy Italian dishes. Too much garlic.
You're going to find yourself a garlic shirt.
Yeah. Hide your fangs from humans, except during meals. And ask a friend to comb your hair. Mirrors won't work. Now, I never understood the whole reflection in the mirror thing. So why would you go invisible? I mean, that kind of doesn't make sense.
I don't know what that is, but to add to finding a vampire, also in the Middle Ages, Um, Potential revenants could be identified at birth,
Hmm.
usually by someone or by some abnormal abnormal abnormality. There you go.
Words are hard.
Some defect, uh, as like if a child was born with teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Similar suspicions of children born with an extra nipple in Romania, with a lack of cartilage in the nose or a split lower lip.
I think the
Russia,
extra nipple thing, usually that applies to witches.
well, uh, in Russia, when a child's born with a red caul or amniotic membrane covering its head,
Mm-hmm.
this is regarded throughout much of Europe as a presumptive evidence that it is destined to return from the dead. Such minor deformities were looked upon as evil omens at the time. So they're saying possibly any child born with these defects um, had a bad omen about them and could potentially return from the dead.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting.
Uh,
So I'm gonna real quick while you're talking, I'm gonna throw um. One
okay.
second.
Well, then other beliefs in vampires stem from the superstition and the mistaken assumption about postmortem decay. The first recorded accounts of vampires follow a consistent pattern. Some unexplained misfortune would befall a person, family, or town, perhaps a drought, dried up crops, or an infectious disease struck. Before science could explain weather patterns and germ theory and uh, any bad event for which this was not an obvious cause might be blamed on a vampire. Vampires were one easy answer to the age old question of why bad things happen to good people. So now, when something bad happens to you, you just blame it on vampires now, I guess. So we can just blame Dracula. Uh, but villagers would combine their beliefs with something that had cursed them with fear of the dead and concluded that perhaps the recently deceased might be responsible for having come back from the graves with evil intent. So graves were unearthed, and surprised villagers often mistook ordinary decomposition process for supernatural phenomenon. For example, though lay people might assume that a body would decompose immediately, if the coffin is well sealed and buried in winter, putrefaction might be delayed by weeks, um, or even months.
Right.
So, intestinal decomposition creates a bloating, which can force blood into the mouth, making it look like a dead body had recently sucked blood. These processes are well understood by modern doctors and morticians, but in medieval Europe, um, these were taken as unmistakable signs that vampires were real and existed among them. So, you know, they thought their um, deceased were coming back from the dead and essentially, I guess, cursing them so they didn't have crops or whatever was going on, or something bad happened in their village. And they would go dig them up to see and notice these, strange things, but, are not really strange. It's just decomposition, and come back and be like, oh no, he came out and sucked somebody's blood last night. He rose from the dead. So yeah, there's different
Theories.
things and theories on
Yeah.
how
Well, and
what's a
it's
vampire.
kind of like I guess with everything, there's people that still to this day believe those traditions and stuff. Um, it's kind of like that with pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But like some people in Romania and around the areas, they still believe some of these traditions that you're talking about. even though we have things like forensics that can tell you everything and turn it into a scientific answer and have an answer for everything.
They didn't have the science back then, so
right.
They let their minds run wild.
Yeah.
They were out there, just trying to explain it away on something else, and everybody's just
what's going on here?
Trying to figure it out.
Okay, so the person on the screen, that is the man who started it all. His name is Vlad Tepes, otherwise known as Dracula. So that is what he looks like. He kind of has that look like,
He's a strange looking fella.
He is a strange looking fella, but he looks like a little bitty tiny man. He doesn't look like, I don't know if it's just the way they painted him or what, but.
Yeah, there's no telling.
He does not look like a big dude at all. He looks like a tiny little man, like someone you would see from back in that day that was sickly or something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe he was just small.
He was a little fella.
But yeah, so
a little guy. He's got a killer mustache, though.
Yeah, he does have a killer mustache. I mean, it goes halfway across his face.
Got a big old push broom on his face. And some long curly hair.
Okay, so here's some little, I don't know, some little bat facts, just for fun. Vampire bats are creatures that really do feed on blood. This impolite habit is called hematophagy. Hematophagy. I'll get it out in just a minute. Only 3 bat species feed on blood. The common vampire bat, the hairy-legged vampire bat. Don't even get me started. And the white-winged vampire bat. Those 3 actually are the only 3 that feed on blood. No other bats do. Now, they might bite you. We see them flying around all the time out here. Vampire bats typically feed at night. A single bat can drink its own weight in blood.
Yeah. First, enough for sustenance, but not enough to actually kill the host.
Yeah. And then their bat spit contains a substance that prevents a victim's blood from clotting too fast.
Yeah.
The name of this substance? Draculin. Draculin.
Yeah.
So,
did that come first? Well, no, science wasn't around back then, so yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, but...
They probably didn't know what a vampire bat was.
Yeah. And of course, this wasn't just something that was going on in Romania. It was also something that vampires were like a big deal in New England, and pretty much all over the world. Everybody carried these traditions, and there was like these big long trade routes, like the Silk Road and so forth, and they would go to these places to trade and hear these stories, and then take them back to where they're from, and then these people would be like, oh my god, I think I saw something like this. Next thing you know, you've got vampire frenzy in New England. So it's not something that just was in Romania, Transylvania, anywhere around there, but it was also carried like everywhere. And now you have the vampire phenomenon. You have all these people out there who wish they were vampires. I don't know if it's the immortality or if they just think it's cool or, what the deal is. But you got all these people now that, well, I guess you can crop some of it up to some of these movies that they've come out with. Because when you look at how they account for Dracula in some of the older movies, it's not as glamorized as it is in the newer movies.
Yeah.
You go from having Dracula and kind of a telling of what happened back in old Romania and so forth to Edward Cullen, who sparkles in the daylight. So,
Well, of course, you had Bram Stoker's Dracula, and he was old,
but he was
decrepit man, but
yeah, but that one I think was really good.
well, that's the best vampire movie there is.
Well, it's one
If
of
you're
the
talking,
best.
well, the best Dracula.
Yeah, the best Dracula. Now, if we're talking about all vampires,
well, for sure ain't no damn Twilight vampires.
I have to say, and this may come as no surprise, but I'll eventually get it up and going. This may come as no surprise, but one of my favorite ones is these guys. Okay. There we go. Is it showing now? I don't know what's going on tonight, but I think the job that Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt did on making that movie almost made it seem more believable. Of course, they did glamorize it. That's just part of it. But if you want to portray the difference between, I don't know, your stereotypical vampire, bloodsucker, don't care, blah, blah, that's going to be your Tom Cruise character in this movie. And then if you want to compare it to the one who still hangs on to their humanity, that's going to be Louis, Brad Pitt. Now, I do know that Brad Pitt said he did not like making this movie at all because he did not like having to be out at night all the time. A lot of the recording was done, or recording. Yeah, a lot of the film shooting was done at night, and he did not like that. The conditions, he said, was just miserable because of the makeup and everything else. But regardless of how he felt about it, he did a good job. I think he did.
Yeah.
I mean, better than okay. It's better than some of these other ones for reals.
Yeah. Interview with the Vampire is a good one. I think that's on everybody's top vampires.
Yeah. I would say so too. That one and Queen of the Damned. I know a lot of people said that they didn't care for Aaliyah's acting, but I thought she did good.
Well, I really didn't care about Aaliyah. It was more the music for me for that one because it was scored by Jonathan Davis. So
yeah, and yeah.
So, but yeah, that was cool on that one.
And here, Josh.
And I never watched any of like the TV show.
This one's just for really. You.
I didn't watch like True Blood or the Vampire Diaries. So I saw some of the Vampire Diaries with you. There's old little Sparkly. That's not a vampire. You can't go out in the daylight.
There's your sparkler right there. Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to go out in the daylight. You're not a day walker. The only day walker is Blade.
Wait, but the movies weren't that bad. But
I don't remember them too much, but not a fan. Not a fan of sparkly vampires.
Yeah, I mean, I think they took it a little too far, making them sparkle in the daylight.
It was a tween girl flick, so it was to appeal to them, not to me. So if you like it, you like it. But I never finished it. I don't know how it ended. I don't know who ended up with who. So, but yeah, um, Sparkle Boy, not a real vampire. Um, and then you got, let's see, the Underworld series of vampires.
They're pretty good. I like those.
I was a fan of the first one, and the other ones just tended to repeat. But that was a pretty good one. I like that one. And the werewolves, the Lycans were good in that too.
Yeah,
good portrayal of them.
Better than Team Jacob.
King Jacob.
Jacob. Twilight, the werewolves.
See, yeah, you lost me. Yeah, better than them because those weren't cool either. So yeah, they can. Twilight can keep all theirs. I don't know. But yeah, Underworld, good ones. Then you got the Lost Boys.
Yeah,
those are probably my favorite vampires.
Now the Lost Boys one, even though it was still, I don't know, but that was in the 90s when
No, it was the 80s.
Oh, 80s, yes, 80s.
Wasn't
when
it?
there
Hold
wasn't,
on.
still wasn't a lot of graphic.
Let me be lying.
Huh?
I said, hold on. Yeah, from 87.
Okay, but there still wasn't a lot of, I don't know. I think they did a really good job. The movie was awesome. And it's another one of those movies that, like a lot of these people out there have told me, that movie, Interview with the Vampire, Dracula, Queen of the Dam, movies like those are the movies that make them want to be.
Yeah, because those focus on
the life
of the vampire,
mm-hmm.
as whereas Lost Boys was more about the mystery of vampires in Santa Carla, and all these people were dying and or coming up missing. But yeah, it was more of the horror movie type situation. That's where and those three series focus more on the life of those vampires and made it more of a appealing story to everyone. So then you got the people that are out there drinking blood and getting the dental implants so they have fangs and think that they're actually vampires. And
and
it's more
now we've been to New Orleans.
Yes,
I've been 7 times. I've been with you twice. Yeah. And now there are people down there that consider themselves vampires, not the immortal kind, but some of them feel like they need to drink blood.
They identify as a vampire.
Yes, they identify as a vampire. Some
That's
of
what
them
you gotta do.
Are they I don't want to say take your energy, but they feed off of energy.
Yeah.
And the others feed off of blood. Now, I'm going to say this for myself. If I was a real vampire and immortal, sure, I'll drink the shit out of anybody's blood. Whoever I needed to survive. You're a goner.
Throats.
Yeah, you're a goner. That's all there is to it. But not immortal, man, you got to get tested before I'm going to drink your blood.
Yeah.
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 But if I'm immortal, I'm
ripping throats. Now, the other Interview with the Vampire TV series that was on AMC. That one was pretty hardcore.
Yeah. That one was
Yeah, they were ripping throats in that one.
I like the gore though.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah. And they twisted the characters around and stuff to make it more modern.
Yeah.
I don't know if you haven't seen it. This is going to be a spoiler alert. If you have not seen it, you need to see it. They have, instead of, you know, an Interview with the Vampire, Lestat has that love for Louis. Yeah. Lestat has that love for Louis, that obsession, that longing. He needs Louis in his life. Well, they give you that in the series. Yeah. Um, the guys, Louis and Lestat, are
Fuck with my ass, man.
Louis and Lestat are together. So spoiler alert. But you do need, it is good. It's really good. But they did take the characters, and instead of them just wanting it, wanting him, they actually put them together in the series. So check it out. It really is good though.
Yeah.
Now,
And then the girl is a little bit older. She's more of a teenager.
Claudia.
In the TV show, because wasn't the girl in the movie a little bit younger?
Yeah, she was young, very young.
She was like 10 or whatever. This one's more of a teenager, so you get to deal with all her teenage angst
Drama.
whatever. Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. It's been a minute.
I don't know if we ever got to finish it because we didn't. I think we finished the first season, but I don't know when it comes back on.
Yeah.
We'll have to get AMC back to watch it.
Yeah. Now another thing, you can actually buy original vampire kits from that they used, you know, back in the day. These things go for anywhere from $12,000 to up. And what you're getting like a little crucifix, some oils and stuff like that. One of them has a gun. It has garlic powder with wooden stakes.
Basically, you're getting a Van Helsing kit.
Right. Yes. Basically, that's what you're getting. A Van Helsing kit. But yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about Buffy.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Actually, I was gonna say something about Buffy a while ago.
I never saw the TV show or anything.
Yeah,
I saw the movie, but I never saw the show.
Buffy Summers, better known as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, might have been named after a Montague Summers, an expert monster chaser who wrote such helpful texts as The Vampire, his kith and kin.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing that they named the character after an actual vampire hunter. Just a little. Did you know?
Yeah. And then also, before, there was a time when vampires didn't sparkle in the daylight or give interviews to Christian Slater. They were menacing undead and were to best be avoided. You had Nosferatu, a 1922 vampire movie, which apparently is still haunting today.
Well, in Dracula, they refer to Nosferatu as well.
If you're not,
oh my God, I love Anthony Hopkins.
If you're not watching, you're not gonna see this, but you can all Google the old Nosferatu. But look at this dude. That's a vampire.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's one of the first original ones.
Yep. I mean, in 1922, they were doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And look at that makeup. I mean, you're talking about the 1920s, and that makeup looks like something that they would do today.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more in depth, but I mean, the makeup looked really good for, you know.
Just think back then, that was super terrifying to see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
it
now
would
they
have been.
sparkle.
Yeah, and now they sparkle. And I thought I saw something about, I don't know. I thought I saw something about a new vampire show coming out. Oh, that's the other one that I really, really liked. The originals.
Yeah. You watch the originals and you watch the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, well, you watch the Vampire Diaries and then the originals. Basically, is how the order goes. But I liked the originals far better than I like the Vampire Diaries. I wish they would come back. I love Elijah. He's got that cool cat demeanor. And then you've got Niklaus, that chaotic vampire that everybody loves, gets into trouble. And then you got Rebecca, the sassy little. I love her too.
Yeah.
But
I caught some of that when you were watching it, and there's a few of them. I was like, I don't like that guy.
yeah, now Niklaus was a
I
hybrid.
think that's the one.
He was part vampire, part werewolf. Now him and Haley have a child, and because Niklaus's mother was a witch, their child ends up being a tribrid, witch, werewolf, vampire. But she has to trigger the curses and blah blah. So basically, she has to kill someone to become a werewolf, and then she has to die to become a vampire. Yeah. But anyways, Niklaus, I think, was the best damn hybrid I've ever seen in any movie. I mean, there's I think it's season 1. There's one of the episodes where they chain him up and they think like 100, 200 vampires are going to beat the crap out of him and lock him in a box for 100 years or whatever. And he just, oh my God, when he raises his head and you see his eyes, and it's like, oh shit, y'all are in trouble now. But yeah, it's one of my favorite parts, but I love that show. Those were uh, they weren't sparklers or anything like that, but they were able to walk around in the daylight because they had daylight rings. If it weren't for the witches making them daylight rings, they would, of course, been stuck to the night.
Whatever.
What? That was a good one,
Daylight
too.
rings. Shh.
I got my daylight ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of, because if you think about it, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning right now.
Is it really?
We're night people.
You said that dude was a hybrid. There's only one hybrid.
Who?
Blade.
Oh my gosh.
He's the true Daywalker.
No.
Yeah.
The what's his name on
Blade would take out all of them.
Underworld. When her and him have a kid. Oh my gosh, that child is something else.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, well, he ends up being a hybrid himself.
Yeah, he becomes a hybrid because
he's
got the blood
badass hybrid.
Yeah, he's pretty badass. But
then she gets the real immortality, and she, I don't know.
Yeah.
They took vampires from being a simple blood-sucking vampire to being...
That one got pretty complicated with everything that was going on. And of course, then they, you were going so far, and then they prequeled and showed the Lycan side of everything. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
there's a lot to do there. But yeah, Michael was a pretty cool hybrid.
Yeah. And the little girl, I mean, I was hoping they would come out with another episode to kind of shake things up a little more since she was a hybrid, but I haven't seen anything. But I do know, and this is completely off topic, but they are talking about another Lord of the Rings movies. So if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, which I am.
What the hell are they going to talk about now?
Huh? What?
What are they going to have a movie about?
I don't know. Now, I haven't read all the books. I don't have time to sit around and read. Usually, when I watch movies, I'm also working or doing schoolwork or something.
I can't read because of all
Big words.
Yeah, sometimes that too. But from what I'm understanding, is set to come out December of 2024. I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me look. I want to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I know that Rings of Power show on Amazon will probably be coming back out again. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm so ready for.
But
It's okay. From what I'm seeing, it's called the War of Rohirrim, which Rohirrim would be. Shit, my brain just went dead. The Horse Lords.
okay.
King Theoden's land. There we
Yeah,
go.
I know
Okay,
what
so
you mean.
that's the Rohirrim. So
Cool.
let's see. Okay, go away.
Just go ahead and beat a dead horse. Get it.
Okay, there's beat a dead horse. Something wrong with you. Okay. In August 2023, Warner Brothers pushed back the release of the new movie from April to December 2024. Of course, that's got to do with the dang strike because actors don't make enough money.
No, it's the writers. The writers are striking.
Actors too.
Yeah, but it started with the writers.
Um,
Actors are joining in solidarity.
let's see. It sounds like the War of the Rohirrim will be worth the wait, at least because Annecy Film Festival in June 2023, an exclusive first look was screened, and the first reactions were very positive. While we wait for the Rings of Power Season 2, the prequel film is set nearly 200 years before The Two Towers and tells the tale of the legendary helm Hammerhand.
Hammerhand.
Yes. The War of the Rohirrim was announced in June 2021. I don't guess they got a trailer for it or anything. Let's see.
Well, people just have to look it up and watch it.
Who will be in the Lord of the Rings? Okay, so it looks like the Lord of the Rings OG trilogy star Miranda Otto, who was not Arwen, Eowyn, the blonde that wanted Aragorn. Remember? She was the niece of King Theoden, the blonde, and she wanted Aragorn, but of course he was in love with Arwen.
With Liv Tyler.
I know their names sound the same. So she is actually, from what it looks like, she will be reprising her role. Joining them are Gaia Wise's Hera, the daughter of Helm, who helps defend their people. Luke Pasqualino as Wolf, the ruthless leader of the Dunlendings. Words are hard. Who seeks revenge against Rohan for the death of his father, Freka. Yeah, I don't see any others so far that was in the previous ones.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's completely off topic from vampires. I just was really excited because I've been wanting a new Lord of the Rings to come out. Obviously, if you're a fan of those movies, which I really am, I think they're all really good. A lot of time, effort on the actor's part, the writer's part, everybody. So, and if you're not, well, It's not your cup of tea, but it's still mine, so I'm still going to talk about it. So, anyways, back to vampires.
The Bloodsuckers.
The Bloodsuckers. But yeah, I mean, when you look back at the history of the vampires, it all starts with Vlad Tepes. And even though he wasn't this immortal person, now, this is something else I was going to bring up, and my brain's scattered tonight. Have you seen all these comments about Nicolas Cage possibly being a vampire because they found a picture of someone from way back when that looks exactly like him?
Yeah. Well, maybe not a vampire, but I've heard that possibly a time traveler. Because that photo looks like him from way back when. But also, Nicolas Cage just played a vampire in that movie.
What is that movie?
It's named after the dude. Vampire movie. Renfield.
Okay.
It's more of a comedy, I think. I don't think it's
Okay, I'm gonna share this real quick and
you
just
can
show you
watch
what
it now on Peacock.
I'm talking about.
So yeah, Nicolas Cage plays Dracula. So Renfield is the tortured aide of his narcissistic boss and is forced to procure his master's prey and do his every bidding. However, after centuries of servitude, he is ready to see if there is a life outside of the shadow of the Prince of Darkness. Cool.
Yeah, so if you look at these pictures right here, that's what I'm talking about. This old picture, which I know some people said, oh, that's just Nicolas Cage superimposed, or
I don't know.
a million other theories. But then, like Josh said, some people think he's a time traveler. Some people think he's a vampire and he's immortal. And I do know because, again, my trips to New Orleans, um, his burial place is in New Orleans in St. Louis Cemetery number 1, and it's actually in the shape of a pyramid. And it's the only one that's in the shape of a pyramid. So if you ever go and you get to check out St. Louis Cemetery number 1, look for the pyramid. That's where he'll be buried one day. If he's not immortal.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you can
that picture,
see,
does. I mean, they definitely could be related.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind is this probably somebody that he may be related to, because they do look just alike.
Mhm.
Same eyebrow lowering, mouth.
Yeah, the nose, the mouth, the ears. I mean, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
just like them.
Yeah. So I mean,
The eye shape,
mm-hmm. So is he a vampire?
maybe.
Is he a time traveler?
Well, if he's immortal, then yes, he has traveled time.
Yeah, I don't think he's a vampire. But it is kind of, he's got all these ties to New Orleans and
Yeah,
all this. If you've never seen Nicolas Cage's movies, that he does a lot of the producing and all that on himself, they're kind of out there. They're good, but they're out there. Remember that one we watched where he got attacked by all the life
the
size.
animatronics.
Yeah,
He said nothing in that whole movie.
yeah. He kicked some ass though.
I forget the name of it. Something about Willy's Wonderland or
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean, he's got
good.
some pretty out there stuff. And then, of course, his ties to New Orleans. And New Orleans is known as the really creepy place to be.
Yeah, they got vampire stories down there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, most of the vampire shows and movies are
partially filmed there.
partially filmed there, or there. The
Mhm.
Interview with the Vampire, that's where they were, was New Orleans.
Yeah, some of the time, yeah. And the originals, most of the originals was actually filmed in either Georgia or Alabama. But of course, they do have those famous scenes in New Orleans at some of the hotels, and the one where they're standing in the middle of the road. Klaus and Cammy, I actually went to that exact spot and got pictures of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But are they real? We don't know.
We don't care. Not unless they're going to come make us immortal.
Yeah.
And then if they do, there's going to be some throat ripping going on.
Yeah, I'm ripping throats.
Especially those of you I don't like.
Yeah, it's all going to be coming
Guess who?
and then ripping your throats.
Guess who? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just ripping throats. All right, well.
That's all the nonsense we got for tonight.
That's all we got on vampires.
And other stuff. Because I randomly go left.
Yeah, we touched on some Lord of the Rings.
I can't help it.
So yeah. Go watch some vampire movies, because we're officially now
In October.
in October.
Hey.
So it's spooky season.
My favorite time of year.
Go watch your vampire movies and all the other cool horror movies. I think
the new Exorcist is coming out.
The new Exorcist is coming up this weekend. The new Saw just came out. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So if we could see those, we'll talk about all that on here.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely gonna see that new Exorcist movie because it looks really good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about seeing it.
And of course, Jeffrey was a big fan of The Exorcist too, so we gotta pay homage.
You and your Jeffrey.
So yeah, oh Jeffrey.
Fuck with my ass, man.
Oh, yep.
Oh my god, you guys are so disgusting.
Yeah, we are. We know.
Well, I guess that concludes this episode of This Savage Life. And remember to like, subscribe, follow on all the social medias.
Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube. We have a TikTok that's got nothing on it.
Spotify.
Yeah, This Savage Life podcast on pretty much everything. This Savage Life podcast at gmail.com. Send us an email. YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe. Follow on all the things. Send us a message. Talk to us. Have a conversation about vampires. Come defend your precious Edward to me.
Don't. It won't go well for you, no. I promise.
No. Yeah, do all that, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Holla. Oh, one more thing.
What?
Oh,
Bikes.
I'm just playing with stuff.
What?
All right. Take it easy.
Later.